Let's go for a walk beside the canal. We'll start from the old iron bridge, which replaced the stone structure that carried the Butterley Company's tramline across from the Portland Wharf. William Jessup was chief engineer to the building of the Cromford Canal, which was opened for traffic in 1793, for its length of approximately 18 miles and costing somewhere in the region of £79,000 to construct. The canal was filled in from Langley Mill to about a quarter of a mile south of Jacksdale in 1966, and the remaining stretch of channel has become very much overgrown. Just above on the bank at this point are the remains of the rolling mills and forge buildings, the walls forming a boundary with the canal. Here the canal retains some of its original pattern, but the lock gates have all been removed. Toll charges for the use of the waterway in its early years varied according to the type of materials transported, but a typical charge for coal or limestone would be around 1 penny per tonne per mile. It's hard to believe that these canals were all built using picks and shovels, and when you consider the difficult terrain and the 1 3/4 mile long Butterley Tunnel further upstream, the Cromford Canal was a fine example of early engineering. The concrete span marks the position of another lock gate, which was regularly used as a crossing point by the forge workers. On the other side were a row of 11 cottages called Limekiln Row, which were built around 1809, but have now all been demolished. The photograph shows the lock and the last remaining cottage of Limekiln Row, and to the right is the old lock house and smithy buildings. Adjacent to Limekiln Row is this dry dock where the narrow boats were once repaired. As we follow the towpath, we come to the old smithy and lengthman's hut, but these are now all derelict and will undoubtedly soon disappear. As a boy, I can remember seeing a very large grinding wheel in this building when Grandad used to take us for walks down the canal side. Only a year ago I photographed these buildings and the roofs were all intact, and I should think in another year from now there will be little or nothing left. From the smithy yard you can see the remains of the lock house, where the lockkeeper who looked after this stretch of canal once lived. Approaching Connor Park, we pass under the Midland Railway. The arch on the other side of the canal spans a now disused private road, connecting the forge works with the old toll road through to Ripley. This building was the Mechanics' Institute of 1846, built by the Butterley Company for the use of its workers. It contained a library and a swimming baths. The premises were later used as the company's colliery offices. These buildings were once the canal stables and were later used by the Ironville Cooperative Society for stabling their horses. The old stone bridge where King William Street converges is worth a few feet of film, and with the disappearance of most of the old buttily built model village of Ironville, no one knows how long these structures will survive. This building was used for making earthenware pottery in the 1800s. The stretch of canal we have covered from Jacksdale to Codnor Park was at one time pretty crowded with lock gates, and it's interesting to see why, when in fact that from summit level at Codnor Park Reservoir to the Langley Mill Basin there is a vertical drop of 80 feet. The old stone footbridge adjacent to Codnor Park Reservoir is the last on this section and marks the spot where the Pinxton Canal branched off the Cromford Canal. This branch was very important for the transporting of coal from the mines around the Pinxton area, and from Pinxton Basin to this point there were no locks to negotiate. This is one of my favourite photographs. It shows the old bridge adjacent to Ironville Church where the Pinxton Canal passed under the road at the bottom of Riddings Hill. All this section of canal has now been filled in, and the bridge has been replaced with a single girder span. Thankfully though, the footbridge adjacent to Codnor Park Reservoir has been kept as an historic feature, whilst landscaping and improvements have been carried out around the reservoir. Chuffing away in the trees, we can just see the little steam engine on its journey up to the Midland Railway Centre at Butterley, which is a good cue for the next part of our film.